Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com.
Welcome to Spiritually Speaking, the talk show for spiritual wellness with the goal to bring about personal peace, love, and joy through spiritual education. It aims to raise the consciousness and vibrations of those who seek to live a fulfilled life through acceptance and non-judgment of all religions, beliefs, and practices that are positively based in God's love and light. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being with us here on Sunday, and it's so good to be back in the studio. You guys know I was out for a couple of weeks teaching, and I had my good friend Anna Oliver sit in for me as a guest host, and I'm hearing so many great things about what Anna did on the show. And last week I know she had Gwen on, and you guys can still contact Anna at annajourneys.com. And Anna, out there, I got so much good feedback from you. You know you should start your own show because there's a lot of people that are interested in what you do. And for you guys who if you aren't familiar with Anna, she's a shamanic practitioner, and she does a lot of things to help people. So journeywithannas.com is her website. So go in and look her up. And also today, I want to let you guys know that I have a special guest in the studio today. So we're going to be talking to John J.J. Nodar.
Thank you.
So he's going to be talking about his book called A Father's Love.
Correct.
And we're going to learn some interesting things about him. And he's also a fellow, he's a squid with me. So he spent some time in the Navy too. So we're going to talk all about his interesting background and what inspired him to write his book, and his tryout in the NFL and
Correct.
other interesting things. So say hello, John.
Hi.
Okay.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
He told me to call him JJ, but John keeps coming up. I don't know. It seems like the
perfect.
proper thing to do.
That's great.
Okay. But before we get John, there's a couple things that I want to talk to you guys about. And one of them is to tell you guys that I'm your host, Dee Dee Lovejoy, and I'm also the owner of Quintessence Aromatherapy and Crystal Healing. And I wanted to thank all of my clients that have been so supportive, and my friends that have been really supportive of the kind of work that I do, the healing and the spiritual work, and that I'm able, and I'm really blessed and grateful that I'm able to give back to the community from this amazing gift that I've been given from God. Also want to extend an offer to my clients and to new clients who want to know more about the Biomat, is to let you all know that I'm offering a 10% discount on the Biomat service if you are interested in it. Just go to my website at oilsandstones.com and just go to services and click on the Biomat Crystal Heal. It's the Biomat Amethyst Crystal Therapy, and you'll see all the great things about it. And if you have any questions about it, you can call me at 813-367-7385. And if you want to call in today and talk to myself or John and ask us any questions, you can call in at 813-639-8255. That's 813-639-TALK. Okay. So the other thing that I want to talk about is, so you guys know that Anna was here while I was gone. So teaching, what was I doing? What was I teaching? There was a number of different classes that I had going on, but two of the big ones I had were Reiki classes. Reiki 2 classes take 2 days. It's a lot of information Reiki 1 classes and Reiki 2 classes are their whole day of classes. So I taught over at Mystical Sense, and I also taught here at Quintessence. And I just want to congratulate the new Reiki practitioners, and I'm just going to give them a by name shout out. So I want to congratulate Dina Bradford, who's a Reiki 1 practitioner. Chris and Alex Spears, they came all the way from Orlando to become Reiki practitioners. Alina Walker, Lois Admire, Kelly Berquist, Debbie Hinkle, Tina Adams, Brenda Wilkins, Beverly Fable, and Jessie Day. They all did the Reiki 1 all-day class. They asked a lot of questions, and now they are talented and capable Reiki 1 practitioners, which is the art of self-healing. Also want to go on and congratulate my Reiki 2 students who have mastered the art of healing thyself, along with, with Divine Source, of course, is Karimi Shaya. So Karimi, please forgive me if I say your name wrong, and Sonia Harding. They are now Reiki 2 practitioners, and they're very capable and talented Reiki practitioners, and they're able to channel that energy to help heal other people and send it to other people that are in need. Also, Karimi, thank you so much for doing the meditation class on Thursday. I appreciate you stepping in for me to help me while I was preparing for the workshops, the caregiver workshops. So thank you for that. I'm sure you did great. And if you were at that workshop, or I'm sorry, if you were at the Thursday meditation class, I'd love to hear about it. And you guys go ahead and thank Karimi for stepping in to doing that. She was a little nervous about it, but I knew she had it in her to do it. She's very intuitive, and this is a good learning experience for her. So what do we have coming up? We as in Quintessence and my spirit team, because we all work together as a team. We have Thursday meditation classes. Every Thursday is meditation and intuitive development at Quintessence, and the address is 114 North Del Mabry in the Carrollwood area. Also, on the third Thursdays of the month, we do a Reiki healing share. So that's where the practitioners who have just learned about Reiki, or seasoned Reiki masters, we come in and we share and learn all the different techniques, hone our skills, and just learn to be better practitioners so that we can serve. And that's what we're here for, to be of service to the planet and to our fellow human beings, basically. The third Sundays is the Reiki share over at Mystical Sense, which is 9545 East Fowler. And so for the people who live on the east side of Tampa Bay, or in that area over there, you can go over at Mystical Sense and do a Reiki share and sharing then over there. Let's see, John, you're really quiet. I know I invited you to these Reiki, not the Reiki classes, but the meditation and intuitive development classes on Thursday.
That sounds very interesting.
Okay. What part of town do you live in?
In Westchase.
In Westchase, not too far.
No, just right down the road.
Just right down the road. So come in on Thursdays and you'll see. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds
It's a lot of fun.
Definitely.
So if we have any of the class participants that are listening, I would love it if you guys could call in and talk to John about what we do in the class and just join in on this conversation. We would love to have you. 813-639-8255. Let's see, a couple more things. No. Oh, my goodness. Here, I'm going to hold this up. Here, John, I'm going to give you a job. No, you guys can't see that, but Brandon just taught me a new trick. Okay, Brandon, how do I get to those? Okay, I think my mouse is not working. Okay, John, you're good.
We're good? Okay.
This is actually the flyer that Paula Taylor created for us for the workshops that Kim Linder and I are doing for abundance. So we say it's workshops for abundance for that are specially made for caregivers. But actually anyone can benefit from these workshops. We do them every Friday in March. So we just completed the first workshop over at Brunchy's Restaurant from noon to 1:30. We had a great turnout. Thank you, Brandon. So that's what you see up there is the flyer. One of the sponsors was there and just gave a little talk. Kim talked about a sacred space and how to create a physical sacred space, an outer sacred space. We just talked about, it doesn't have to be a whole room dedicated to prayer and meditation. It can just be a corner of a room. You can have it can just be a shoebox with all the things that you love in it that means something to you, like a candle, a seashell, a religious figure or anything like that. But also know that a sacred space is not or does not have to be a religious thing or a religious ritual thing. It's a place that you go to get away from your regular business, where you go and de-stress and connect with divine source. And, you guys heard me talk about prayer and meditation. What's the difference? And, my answer is prayer is when you speak to God and meditation is when you listen. So having a place to do those things that helps you feel centered and not so scattered. If you know that going to this place, the room, your shoebox, in your car, if some people have a little, the old movies that I was looking at where they had the little Hawaiian girl that dances on the dashboard. If you look at that and you zone into your inner sacred space, that could be a sacred space. If you have a postcard of this beautiful beach and you just imagine yourself there, that is calling in your inner sacred space. And so that is where you do your intuitive work, where you speak to God, where God is able to give you information, where you're able to ask for what you need, connect with your angels and your spirit guides, or just not think and just be. So building that outer sacred space. And also we did a meditation on the inner sacred space, just going in, if people haven't ever did an inner sacred space, we did a meditation and they were able to build one. Have you ever done a meditation like that before?
Yes. Last year when I mentioned earlier before our broadcast, I was working or volunteering as a student chaplain.
Mm-hmm.
So we did experience some different religions and practices. And one of them was in regards to meditation. The church is actually over there off Morrisbridge Road.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very more spiritual than a religious.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about sacred space can be even the space where you're in at that moment.
At that moment, absolutely.
My aunt actually has a place in her apartment in the closet. She'd have a chair and she would just sit there, and that would be her God moment, as she said.
Yeah, I like that.
And me, wherever I try to go, I try to find the time during the hustle and bustle of the day. And whether it's a few hours in the morning before everyone gets up or a few hours in the evening when everyone goes to bed. So, that's one of the things. Again, as years go by, you start developing your own way.
Yeah.
And your own path that you can find for your own peace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said that, it's a good point that you can take this wherever you go, your inner sacred space. It doesn't have to be a physical place at all. It's just sitting quietly and checking out of, this everyday thing and just going within. And
sure. When I was working in a insurance company a few years ago in St. Pete, going across Howard Franklin Bridge in the middle of traffic, sometimes it was just, obviously getting frustrated. But if you're going to be there ahead of time, you can look over the Gulf and you can see the birds, or you can see, and it's peaceful. It's very
see
relaxing.
The pelicans flying by, just soaring by. You mean when you're parked on the Howard Franklin?
Yeah, when you're stuck in traffic for a few hours, exactly.
Yep.
So you got to learn, try to see things that are not just visible, in front of you, but at least get an idea of other things that are there.
And pick out the things that are great about where you are.
Sure.
And it's, okay, so there's traffic there, but there's also beauty all around you.
Right.
On both sides of the Howard Franklin. You look on either side and it's
right. And the day that I'm talking about, it was actually there was a major accident and someone died.
Oh my.
So that's why there was a backup traffic. But then at the same time, you can pray for them because they're not there anymore. Whatever happens, and then think about the time that it could have been me. So depending on how you look at things.
That's right. Good point. Thank you, John. Okay, so just a couple more things. I had a couple of let me tie up the workshop thing. The workshops are now $15 per workshop. So we made the price more reasonable for people to attend. And we also are streaming live. So Talk Watt Radio, thank you so much, Nolan, Hassan, and Brandon, for the work that you guys are doing with this project that we hold, that Kim Linder and I hold dear to our heart, that you came down and we are broadcasting live for the show. And then you can go and see the show later. So if you miss the workshops, I'm calling them shows, but they're actually the workshops. If you miss them during the day because you couldn't get away and things like that, you can go and watch them. So there is a banner above this screen. There should be a banner that says Abundance Workshops, and it's a little yellow button. If you don't see it now, when this is done, I guess maybe because this is live now, but when this is done, you'll be able to see that. If you don't, please let me know. You can email me at dee@oilsandstones.com and I'll get that fixed. But I do want to answer a couple questions for a couple of my clients that have asked. One of the clients took a pendulum class that I taught, and a couple of days later, she emailed me and said, she had a pendulum by her cell phone and she had just finished charging her cell phone and then it drained. So she wondered if her pendulum drained her cell phone. And so I'm just going to say no, with confidence, I'm going to say no, that your pendulum doesn't have that ability. Your pendulum works on a subconscious level, and it's on your subconscious level, and it also works with your spirit guides and your spirit team. So it wouldn't be the pendulum itself that drained anything. I think if there was a spiritual entity that was trying to manifest somehow, they do use energy. That's why we get, and how they communicate is through electricity and through gathering energy. So that's why I know a lot of times I burn out light bulbs just walking by because, it's like I just replaced that light bulb, so I know, or lights will flicker. Some people talk about communicating with past loved ones and things like that through radio and any kind of electronic device. And your cell phone is absolutely one of those devices. So taking the energy from that to perhaps communicate with you is probably what happened, rather than your pendulum draining your cell phone. And if anybody wants to add to that, wants to call in and get some information or give information about that, you are free to do so at 813-639-TALK. The next thing I'm going to talk about is some other things that clients have asked me about. And you guys know that I love crystals, and I teach a lot about crystals, and I incorporate them in my everyday life, like my children. So my husband, at the workshop, I had crystals all over the tables. So kind of like creating a sacred space, or helping everybody there create a little sacred space for themselves. So he gathered all the crystals up in a bag and threw them in the box when the workshop was over. And I was like, "What are you doing?" I was like those are my children.
Bring them back.
To him, they're just rocks.
Right.
And I think that he just doesn't understand that they have these amazing vibrational qualities. Sure. And they're not just rocks. I mean, they use these. Okay, you guys heard of Silicon Valley, right?
Yes.
In the
California.
In California, in the Northwest, silicone is extracted from crystals, from quartz crystals, and it's one of the main components of your computer. You know, for electronic parts, crystals emit a steady pulse. That's what they use them in lasers and watches and all these electronic devices. So they are scientifically approved and measured. They've been tested that they do have vibrational qualities, and they are rated at different levels. So when you're meditating or praying, having a crystal in your presence or wearing one, having one in front of you, in your auric field, it enhances what you're doing. So it helps complete that circuit, basically. Sure. So it raises your vibrational level. So if your angels who vibrate at 7,000 and you're vibrating at 500, it'll raise your vibrational level a little higher. So, and they bring theirs down so you can meet, and it helps that connection process and that communication process and helps it clear. Sure. And they also have healing properties as well. They have protective properties. And you guys, last time I was on the show, I talked about using crystals to extend the life of your plants and your cut flowers. So this time I had some questions about how to use crystals to for protection in the home. So I have my book here that has all the different ways that you can use crystals in your home. So I'm going to bend down and get my glasses that fell on the floor because you know I need them. Okay, here we go. Have you ever used any kind of crystals or enhancements?
No, not at all.
Not at all? How about prayer beads or rosary?
Rosary beads all the time. Okay. And even a little rosary or a decadent, they called it, with the 10 beads. Mm-hmm. So that's also what I've used.
Okay, so they're the same. They are kind of the same things. So imagine I have a rosary, quartz crystal rosary on my altar. So imagine having a rosary that's made of quartz crystal. Sure. So you get that extra
power.
You get the extra power,
sure.
And so you want to hear all you can hear, and and have that connection as fine tuned as you
right, just like the broadcast.
Can. Absolutely. Okay. So I'm just like, I got my rosary beads, and they're made of quartz crystal. I'm there. I'm ready.
Right.
So we're gonna have to get you some rosary beads of made of some kind of crystal or gemstone.
Okay.
So to enhance your connection.
That'll be nice. Thank you.
Okay. So first thing we're going to talk about is hematite. So you guys, I'm going to make sure this works right. Hey, Brandon. Okay. Where do we go?
The hematite, and then drag it into the box.
Okay. So this is what hematite looks like, guys. Okay. So hematite is that shiny stone. It kind of looks like, what does that look like?
Looks like a wafer.
I think that's just the shape of it, but I'll show everybody these. But it kind of looks like it's a very, very metallic
sure.
kind of mirror type of thing. So this is a polished hematite.
Okay. And where did they come from?
Hematites come from. Okay, so let's see. Hematite is a metallic silver gray, red brown when rough. So what you're seeing is the polished one, also known as volcanic spit. So it's like volcanic glass. Okay, so it comes from volcanoes, and which is also where obsidian comes from, and that's the next stone that we're going to talk about.
They're found in Hawaii, probably, where a lot of volcanoes.
Well, yeah. And probably all over the world. I mean, there's volcanoes in Japan sure. and, different places, Mount St. Helens,
right.
So wherever there's a volcano, you can probably find these. Shiny in appearance when polished, or you can use hematite chips. They're commonly available. It dissolves negativity, protects and prevents bad energies entering your home. And you would place them outside the door. Okay. So someone asked me about protecting their home, with crystals, because someone said about, I have salt and I have all these things. And I'm just like, okay, well, calling in your angels and things like that, calling on protection from God And, definitely want to do that. But if you also want to add stones to it, it's not going to hurt. It's just
Sure.
going to enhance whatever you're doing. The crystal contains iron oxide because iron is iron oxide because iron was associated with Mars, the Roman god of war. Legend has it that Roman soldiers pressed a stone to their bodies for protection before battle. It's environmentally grounding and supportive crystal. Hematite, when polished, is metallic silver gray and produces such a high sheen that in the past it was used as a mirror in much the same way as obsidian. Hematite's mirror effect can deflect the unpleasant attitudes of unwanted visitors at your front door. Although this area may feel good generally, people who unsuccessfully sell their goods or disgruntled visitors can all deplete your positivity of your entranceway. Place hematite by the front door can smooth the flow of energy. A powerful protector, the stone builds a healing shield around the entrance. The shield connects to the earth's beneficial properties, neutralizing any bad energy that people bring with them, so that even those who come to the door feeling upset go away happy. We like happy, right?
Definitely. That's a good thing. And if someone wanted to get these, where would they find them?
They can get them from me. I sell hematite and other crystals, and you can also find them. Just call me if you're interested in them. And if I don't have the sizes that you need, because I have the crystals that I have are usually for healing type of things. If you want decorative ones, I can tell you where you can get those. Place a hematite crystal outside the doormat of your apartment, and you may prefer to scatter some hematite chips under your mat. Hold them and ask that this is how you use them. Hold them and ask that they protect your entrance and heal all the people that call there. Trust in their powers. You can also use selenite. And selenite is one of the pieces that I had last time was on it. It's white. It's like a milky white crystal. And obsidian, which is what we're going to talk about a little later. Okay, so do I just pull this back? Hey, Brandon, how do I get this down? Okay, then we go back to there. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, so for anyone who wants to know about, this is kind of what they look like. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's a shiny. Now, I use this one in my healing studio, and I put it at people's feet when they're on the table for grounding. So what does that mean? It means it keeps them from one, feeling kind of woozy and lightheaded when they get up from the table, but it also grounds them in the here and the now instead of worrying about what they have to do tomorrow, the next day, what they did yesterday. It grounds them in the here and the now and connects them with Mother Earth. That is a key element in relaxation, is grounding. So putting that at the feet is a perfect place to put the hematite, and putting it under your mat, you're also going to get that. Hematite also aids in your ascension process. If you're trying to connect further with your spirit team and with your higher self, having a hematite bracelet or a necklace, or for men carrying it in your wallet, for women carrying it, having a piece in your bra or even your shoe or sock, will help with that process. It'll keep you grounded, but also aids in the ascension process, if that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Okay. So one more thing. So we have your front entrance. How about the hallway? So we're going to drag over our other crystal, which is the obsidian that we were talking about. And this is also made from the volcanic. And that's the snowflake obsidian. These are the kinds that I like because they have a little bit more personality. Are we doing this? Okay, John, can you see how to do that?
Yeah, but the screen,
This
you got to
one?
get the different thing needs to be bigger, where you had the different things you can slide the camera into. Try the adjustments.
These guys?
No, don't exit. No, right there where it says adjustments.
Okay, here, do that one where I'll find my page. Nope. Oh, there you go, effects. Okay. So that is a snowflake obsidian, what you're seeing. And formed from volcanic lava, obsidian was used by the Aztecs as the equivalent of flint to make knives and arrowheads. When finely polished, it is deeply reflective, and the stone's magical reputation is perhaps due to its mirror-like qualities. Dr. John Dee, spiritual advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, prized an Aztec magic mirror of obsidian for scrying or future gazing. As anyone who lives with you or visits can bring the mixed emotions of their day to your door, you can use this ancient stone as a symbolic mirror to deflect incoming frustrations and upsets. So how do you use it? Place a black obsidian or snowflake obsidian crystal, either tumbled or raw, in your hallway. The best position is on the small table or corner shelf in the front door. Bear in mind that poor lighting and clutter could inhibit the crystal's abilities, so keep your hall surface clean and the whole space bright. Hold this crystal tightly and ask it to do its work for you, and soon this grounding stone will neutralize your negativity that has been brought in and restore a more harmonious ambience. So when we're buying stones, because many people, thank you, John, you didn't know you were going to have to work here. First I had you, so we'll click on where we see us. You didn't know you were going to have to work today.
Oh, it's all good.
First I had you holding up a sign, and now you're clicking away.
Right.
Okay. So if you are going to a crystal or gem store and you're not sure what to get and you just want to have some of the crystals, then just go to the ones that you're drawn to, put them in your hands, hold them, and if they feel good to you, then get them. But also know that these stones, you are drawn to them because it's something that you need.
Sure.
In some way, something you need it in your life some way. Also know that they have different vibrational qualities and also healing qualities, protective qualities, and things that they do. A lot of the Asian cultures or the Eastern cultures use these things more readily than we do here in the Western world, because they've been studying and using these things for centuries. And we, jade, for example, you see the little babies with jade bracelets and necklaces and things on them because it's a blessing. It's a sign of prosperity. It's a sign of luck that it's been bestowed on a baby.
Sure.
And they grow up, learning about these different kinds of stones and things like that. So going into these stores, just keep in mind that you can also get the stones for other purposes, not just for decorative purposes or just to carry around, but ask the clerks, what is this stone good for?
Correct.
If I'm drawn to it, what are its qualities? And there's many books on the market that you can get to read about the different stones. You can also do some work on your own on the internet and see what the stone's purpose is there. You can also call me. I get many calls from people, once or twice a week saying, I want to come to your store. They think I have a store. You guys, it's a healing studio. I do have crystals, but it's not a store that you come around and browse in. But I go, what do you need? What do you need the crystal for? And they say, well, my aunt is sick and I want to get a crystal for her. Or I'm just going through a divorce and I feel like I need some crystals. I don't know what kind to get. So I will recommend crystals for them for the different purposes. So just go ahead and pass that information on, and just know that there are some other things that were created for us to use, just like the aromatherapy products, or the aromatherapy essential oils, I should say, not the perfume lotions that have the synthetic mixtures in them. I'm talking about the pure essential therapeutic grade oils that were our first medicines that are used in France and in the UK, just like we use Motrin and, Aleve and things like that. So if you want to know anything about those, I've studied them for years, and you guys can just call me. Okay, so it's time to talk to John. Dun, 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 dun. We need a bell. Talk to John. Okay. All right. Here we go. You take a deep breath in. You're done working now.
Okay.
Because everything else you already know about.
Correct.
Because we're going to be talking about you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So tell us, John, just tell me who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is John Nodar. My writing name is JJ.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in New York and grew up in Miami and then moved to Boise, Idaho. So I was actually living in Idaho when Mount St. Helens erupted. We got a little vase of ashes.
Okay.
Because it made it that far.
You can probably find some obsidian there.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I graduated high school and joined the Navy. So we're fellow veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Navy's, you're still in the reserves, but I got out.
Mm-hmm.
Traveled the world.
He escaped.
I did. I did my first tour in Japan because when you join boot camp, a lot of times they give you a dream sheet where you want to go.
Okay.
I put everywhere but the States because I was 18.
Yeah.
And I traveled the world, which that's what one of the goals was.
Mm-hmm.
So my first tour was in Japan on the USS Midway.
Okay.
And stationed all over on the Westpac. And then I came back to school.
That was an aircraft carrier,
Correct.
right?
USS Midway.
Mm-hmm.
It's in dry dock in San Diego now.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on F-18s, fighter aircraft.
It's actually a museum now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's and they really built that I don't know, when's the last time you've been to San Diego?
Since I left in boot camp in 1987.
Okay. You should see it now. There's a whole area
That's what I heard my
built
dad was
up
telling
about the Midway. I mean, there's planes on there. It's a beautiful museum.
Right.
And
I think American
you need to
Idol
go.
actually had one of their episodes or
Yeah.
last season. They were on the Midway there. In
okay,
San
so
Diego.
that was your first ship?
Right. I was only on one. And then I
Okay.
went to school in Millington, Tennessee.
Yep.
And then, which is right outside of Memphis. And then I went to Spain. I was stationed in Europe over there. So then I spent the East Coast.
Okay. Were you in Rhoda?
Yes, I was
Okay.
stationed in Rhoda. Worked on VQ2, the big P3 propeller jets.
Okay. What was your job in
My
the
job
Navy?
description, I joined undesignated, and
Mhm.
I became aviation electrician.
Okay, an AE.
So correct, and I
Okay.
was a plane captain most of the time when we, launch and recover the aircrafts and all
Uh-huh.
that. It was very exciting.
Very
It was
exciting.
an amazing journey.
Yeah. It's a privilege, I think, for to have that experience.
Definitely.
In Boise, Idaho, where do people go?
Well, there was
when they
mostly
get
back then potatoes. That's the only thing that even when I go to the
Yeah.
store now, I see, Boise, Idaho potatoes grown in
Potatoes.
Idaho.
Okay.
Um,
Farming, lots of farming.
Exactly, a lot of farmland. I mean,
Okay.
everything has been developed now. It's been over 20
Uh-huh.
years. But back then, there wasn't much going on. So I at the time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then the movie Top Gun came out, if you
Oh,
remember, with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So we're dating ourselves here, but that actually was me and a bunch of friends like, let's join the Navy, let's become pilots. And with my vision, wearing glasses, that was always a deterrent,
Uh-huh.
but it didn't stop me from joining.
Yeah, and you still got to work on aircraft.
Correct.
then.
I was actually the one that handled it, and pretty much, as they said, the pilots' lives were in our hands because we
Yeah.
worked on the jets that they flew, so that was close.
That's awesome. So you kept them flying. The
Yes.
AEs keep them flying. Is that was
That
what
was
the
most of
agents
it. Yeah, the
Okay.
aviation electronics are the ones
Yeah.
that handle all the equipment on the plane.
said? Okay. And so how has that changed your life to get you to where you are right now? Has that been an inspiration for
I
you
believe
in
so.
this book that we're going to talk about?
I believe so, because if you look back as a journey where it started, I was talking with some friends, and I'm also involved with the community and church and volunteering. I'm sure you've gone through the dark night of the soul where you've gone through certain things in life. And mine was when I was 18, we were in the middle of the ocean, Indian Ocean. And as we're talking, I can express it. And, now looking back, I see where everything comes from. And at that time, I guess being a mama's boy and always, having mom and dad around until I joined the Navy, being in the Gulf for 6 months at a time, we would work 12 to 14-hour days, which I'm sure you were. That
There were no weekends.
No,
it
there
was
was.
just days.
7 days a week, and all the days
Yes.
just ran together.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wound up doing a watch, which was a security watch they called Balls to 4, which was from midnight till 4 in the morning. So
Uh-huh.
you're already working a 14-hour day, and then you're working 4-hour shift. And I remember like it was yesterday, just going through a lot of emotional stuff and being picked on by other people at the time, the superiors and all that stuff, which I'm sure you've gone through the military, the razzing
Picked
and all.
on?
So, being in the middle of the flight deck, we were, again, security watch for the planes and no one was around. So there was that moment of time where I was standing on the flight deck. I was 50 feet above water. And you hear stories about 50 feet above water. If you hit the surface, the water, it's like cement.
Yes.
And I was kind of a goofball, so I was thinking, well, if I didn't actually dive, because at this time that was the point of no return.
Yeah.
So as I'm sharing this with you, I'm trying to visualize so the people that are listening can see, whatever you go through in life, there's always a way out if you have faith.
That's right.
And at
Absolutely.
that time, being there, I was thinking, well, who would I hurt? There's nobody around. My parents aren't here. Nobody's here. I'm not married. I have no kids. All that stuff that, I can relate to now because I have a son who's 19, so I can share, 25 years later. But at that time, I thought about jumping. I thought about who's going to know. And then how would anybody care? Because, it's already out in the middle of the ocean. Nobody's, man overboard. Nobody's around. Everybody's sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm thinking a part of, I guess, my silly humor is, well, if I hit the ground, well, the cement, they say the flight deck coming into the water, I might hurt myself. I might maybe break a leg or break my back or get sucked under by propeller. So it might not really be worth it because then I might be alive, but I might be hurt. So at that time, I remember the tears flowing. And then there was, again, in the middle of the night, we were summertime, and I remember a cool breeze coming across the flight deck. And I could feel that was the spirit.
Yeah.
That was, this isn't it. This isn't what, you're here for.
Right.
So I stepped back. And, here we are today.
Here we are today.
That was part of the beginning, I guess, of the journey. And as I shared with you before the broadcast, I experienced the different cultures, different lifestyles, different religions when I was in the military at that young age. Me being raised Catholic, that's my foundation.
Yes.
But I believe everything can be built upon. So what you believe and what I believe, we can still get to where we need to go.
Right.
Or as well as anybody else in a different religion or different culture. And having an open mind, I guess, and also an open heart. So as you build relationships, you can share things that you've gone through, which that's what this book is about. It's called A Father's Love because a few years ago I went through some personal stuff in my life with my kid's mother. I have two boys, one 19 now and one, he'll be 8 actually this month.
Okay.
And during that time, I actually didn't sit down and write a book. It was just more of a self-therapy.
Okay.
I journaled, and that's, I
just
guess,
journaling?
just journaling.
Okay.
All the
Just
emotions,
all
all the
thoughts.
pain, all the hurt that I was going through. And I guess, trained myself over the years from back that I shared with you the moment when I was 18 of how I'd heal myself, how I'd get through certain things in my life.
Okay.
And I always keep a journal. I remember it's like one of those composition books. Remember back in school, the black and white?
Right.
I still use those type of journals.
So where did you even get that idea to journal, to write things down?
Mostly just from, as I was a kid in school, I used to always like to write. I mean, even if it was a hobby, stuff on the side, I always like to write my thoughts and feelings.
See, girls call those diaries.
Diaries, sure.
When you're young like that, girls call them diaries, but yours was your journal.
Yeah.
Your journal.
It was like
just
a
writing your
composition
thoughts.
book, and I wrote little titles. So, I had a whole box full of those, which just certain things.
Do you have siblings?
I have one older sister that lives in
Okay.
Kansas. She has 4 kids. She's a year and a half older.
So, it's interesting because, there you were feeling alone. Like, if you ended this life, that nobody would care. And you got the answer that, that God loves you, basically.
Definitely.
God loves you, and this is not, it's not your time to,
Sure.
to transition.
Well, that's it, mostly because, again, as I shared, and a few years ago, I was going to USF for my degree, which, again, I started when I was in the Navy, City College, Chicago, and being on the life and military and then family and kids being born. It took me about 15 years to finally finish it, but I did.
And that's common. That's
And
common for
military
many
life,
people.
sure.
Yeah,
And
for
then-
adults.
Correct,
basically.
exactly, because everything else is happening at the same time. And I remember I wrote my stories at USF. I was a columnist for them. So during that time, when I shared about my stories, a lot of people were very thankful because they were able to relate, even though my situation was mine, but they can relate to
Yes,
the
of course.
situation.
So tell me about the book. What exactly is it about?
The book is called A Father's Love, and it's everything that I went through within the previous 2 to 3 years with this drama, divorce, and all this stuff that I went through as a father. Because that's the last thing in the world that, you bring a child into the world, you don't want to be there for them based on whatever happens around.
Yeah.
So for the love of my boys, it's called A Father's Love because me as a father, and it's also filled with experiences, things so I can lead my boys in the right direction. During this time, I also became a volunteer with the Guardian Ad Litem, which is working with kids in the foster care.
Okay.
And during that time, I met a chaplain when I was, again, student chaplain. And I was thinking, if I take care of these kids, who's going to take care of my kids? And she told me, God says, take care of my things and I'll take care of your things.
Okay.
So during that time, I thought, well, if I can at least help one child, then that will help me with my child. And it has.
So volunteering, were you drawn to volunteer at this type
During
of
that time, I
organization?
believe so.
Or okay.
Because
Were you spending much time with your own children?
Correct. I always did all the time I could. And things have gotten better, obviously, with the relationship and with her, their mother, and just things in general. And a lot of it has to do with being led by, the Spirit and trying to do the right thing for everybody. So the book came about because everything that I went through, I put into words.
Okay.
And then it's also experience of my life relating to my boys, but also the kids that I was working with in the foster care system. And then also God's love for us as a father. So it has some scripture.
Yeah.
It has some things that are relating particular to that topic, for example, that I mentioned, certain things that I would go as a father to my son that are also related to the scripture. And during that time, I can just read a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
This is just a little excerpt from the beginning of the book. Again, at the time my son was 5, I had my older son was 16. So again, we're looking at 3 years.
And before John reads that, if anybody wants to call in, during this time, you can. The number is 813-639-8255, and you can stop us at any time and ask questions or comment.
Oh, thank you. That would be great. So the introduction of the book, it says, Daddy, I had a nightmare. One day I woke up in the middle of the night and I was crying. I was calling your name, Daddy, Daddy, but you weren't there. I was very sad. I was crying for you, Daddy. I had a nightmare, Daddy. I couldn't sleep for you. I called for you to help me, Daddy. And that's the beginning of the book. And the whole book is led with themes of myself, of what I've gone through, and what I can share.
Is this from your son? Is this something that happened?
That actually was what I went through and the words he said to me when I had moved out.
Okay. And that was quite scary for him. And how did
that
make you feel?
Very sad.
Okay.
So because again, that's the last thing you want to do is have a child and not be there for them. So again, a lot of faith, a lot of prayer, and a lot of just this moment, even though that difficult moment was happening for a reason as well. And as I was going through that, I remembered what I went through when I was 18 in the Navy on the flight deck. If I made it through that, I can make it through this. And over the years, that's always been my goal, my path, my vision, because no matter what I'm going to go through, I'm going to make it. It might be difficult, obviously, I believe everything we're going to be going through is like a test.
It absolutely is. It's a lesson.
So that's pretty much where that book came about because of my love that I have for my boys.
And what else? How is it? Is it an inspiration? Because what I was reading about is just like it's motivation and inspiration for other dads.
Correct.
Right. And so how does it inspire and motivate other fathers?
Well, it's not only for other fathers as well, but I believe for all people, for women and children as well, mostly because the stories that I relate to, that I share, are for the kids I might be going through something, and it's also dedicated to the kids in the foster care because a lot of times they don't have people that can be there for them. The job or the volunteering position as a guardian ad litem, we were the voices, the eyes and ears of the courts. So we were, certified by the state to represent the kids. And you get to build a relationship with the kids. There's certain things obviously that we can talk about, but when you're working with the kids, the whole intention is to get them in a best situation, whether it's with their family or a relative or a friend or the state. The state is always the last option.
So in your book, how would you motivate another father? Do you tell them things that you did to move past
Definitely.
something? Like what would be one of the scriptures that you would used in the book if you...
Well, one of them was, let me see if I can pull it up here, because there were many different topics regarding in the book. And
Well, just tell us about one of the topics, and tell people where they can get it, the book.
Okay, well, in regards to the book itself, there was a few words that I did mention that had significance, and I explained the definition. One of them was father, the other one was foster,
Okay.
anger, hatred, and faith. And those are the emotions and the things that I was going through at that time. So in regards to the scripture, a lot of it deals with themes that I shared with that I was going through at that time, that deal with, for example, family or sex or life or relationships, or even if the person, let's say, I just have this thing right here for the youth or the absence. So for example, the absence, and this is again what I was led to in the beginning, it was the Lord watched between me and thee when we are apart from one another. And this is from Genesis chapter 31, verse 49. And then the theme of that was my child. Again, talking, I felt led by the Spirit in the way I was writing the word, because as my child to my boys, I felt it was God's words to me and to others.
Yeah.
So it says
that they'll be safe even when you are apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I led.
They'll be okay.
Correct. And this little verse that I wrote was, absence is a time during which I am not away from you, which I am away from you, does not reflect my love towards you. You are in my thoughts and prayers every day of my life, and I look forward to the day and every day that I will see you again. I love you. So those are certain things that, as a father...
That's making me tear up. It just really is. It's really special.
So, and the book of the closing, again, is, as the book closes, may the Lord shine his face down upon thee, may he show his countenance. That's from the Numbers verse that you're familiar with as well. So the whole theme is related to, as a man or woman, whoever has a child or doesn't, that no matter what, your inspiration is to make it another day.
Yeah.
So you can see the blessings around us. And for example, if you were to want to buy the book, it's available on Amazon and BarnesandNobles.com. It's as an ebook, electronic book. And it's also available on iTunes as an audiobook. So I narrated the book as well. And now I'm working with Starbucks. I currently work at Starbucks in the morning. That's my little thing that get through the holidays. But it's a great opportunity because I can give a person a drink and a smile and kind of make their day, you know?
Yeah.
So I try to look at things. And that's available. Well, we're trying to get that into the network where they have the pick of the week. So that's something that we're working on too, because it's already set up through iTunes, and my book's already on iTunes.
And I would love to put a link on in my online store for people that are interested in the book, because this is very near and dear, and it's one of the things that my husband, who's an amazing father to his 3 boys and my daughter, you know, I'm saying my daughter now because if people didn't know that he is not her biological father, they would never know.
Sure.
And one of the things I loved about him is that, you know, how nurturing he was with his boys. And sometimes fathers don't get the recognition that they warrant or deserve, because you always hear something bad about dads.
Sure.
You know, and my husband, his big thing is, you know, Father's Day, you know, Mother's Day, we do all these things for mothers, but Father's Day is just glossed over.
Right.
Like we don't deserve it. And the fathers that do stand up and say, hey, you know, I do love my children and I will be present in their lives and I do matter, you know, to them. One of the things that Steve Harvey says is that, you know, there's some amazing single moms, but they cannot raise a son. You know, there's just certain things that they can't teach a boy. You know, they can't teach a boy how to be a man. And John, I just want to say, you stepping forward with this and sharing your story from a spiritual perspective, that even gives it more meaning, because a lot of people want to deny that part. You know, they want to say, you know, I'm stronger than this and I don't need anybody.
Sure.
You know, and so, and while we're talking about you and some of the things that you did, I heard that you tried out for the NFL. Tell me about that.
Well, that was always a dream that I had from when I was a kid. I wanted to be in the NFL.
Really, I want to be a football player.
Yes, it's actually something that I thought as I got older that I wanted to do.
Were you any good?
I was decent. I mean, I played high school football and all that great stuff, but I joined the Navy, so that pretty much got put on hold. I played games when we were in the Navy, stationed overseas, you know, pickup games and little base stuff along, but nothing professional, collegiate, or anything like that. And then I had a dream one day that I wanted to play football again as I got out of the Navy in 1993. So we were living in Naples at the time, And actually, the Bucks, which are here in Tampa, they moved. They used to
Uh-huh.
be on One Buck Place if you've been here for a while. The old shack over there by the airport before the
Okay.
International Plaza and all that stuff was here.
I wasn't here
Oh, you
then.
weren't? Okay.
No, I was in San Diego doing
Oh,
Navy
okay.
stuff out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I have family still live here, but they were here at the time, and I
Uh-huh.
was living in Naples, and my wife at the time was pregnant with my first son, who's 19 now, so, kind of figure it out as far as the years that have gone by. We were living in Naples, and we were up here visiting, and I stopped by the office there, and I just introduced myself. Sam Wedge was a coach at the time. I said, I'm John, I'm here to play football. And they're like,
Just like that.
correct. And so he went to get someone. I thought he was going to get security, but it was it was a guy that told me what I had to do.
Okay.
So I started getting in contact with the other teams, NFL, and you had to get an agent and all this stuff. So I
Uh-huh.
talked to some agents. Some certain things happened that book, my first book, the Book of Jude, was written based on the inspiration that I went through trying out for the Bucks.
Is that right?
So
Okay.
that's available also as an ebook, and that was the story of that was at the time I was trying to figure out how to get into the NFL, and I thought, well, let me just be representing myself as an agent player because it can be
You
done.
can do that.
John Stockton with the Utah Jazz years ago used to do
Yeah.
that, him and his father. So there's ways, or walk-ons. A lot of times the teams have walk-ons where you would just show up. So there was a way, you just had to be persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a lot of faith has to do with it if you're willing to take the time that it takes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, so we're 1993, so in 1996, I met a recruiter from Purdue University that was there scouting, and I was working at the Hampton Inn at the time, and I shared with him my dream, and he said, well, I can't see what I can do. I'll get back to you. So I got about a month later, invitation to the Combine, because that's usually where they have the invitations only for the free agents, the college kids, anyone that's
Mhm.
interested in trying out. So that was in Atlanta on the Mother's Day week in 1996, and I had my hotel, which I was working at, comp me for the stay,
Okay.
but I had to find my way to get there.
Okay.
So it was either Delta out of Fort Myers for $228 or Value Jet out of Miami for $208. And if you remember what happened in May 1996 with the Value Jet,
I don't remember.
it crashed in the Everglades.
Oh my gosh.
So that was the
No.
plane that I
Okay.
had the two choices.
Okay, so you got two. You got didn't fall off the ship and didn't take the plane.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it came down to 1996. I didn't make the team. I met with Tony Dungy and Mark Dominic, who's a GM
Uh-huh.
player now, the personnel now. But at
Yeah.
the time, he was new, and the book was inspired from that.
Oh, we have a phone call, so let's go ahead and take it. Okay. Hi, you're on the air with Spiritually Speaking. Speak to us.
Hi, I was calling in to ask John a question. He mentioned trying out for the Bucks. What position did he try out for?
It was for running back.
For running back. Okay. So how far did you get?
Well, I went to the Combine in Atlanta. This was going back in May 1996, and then I met with the coach Tony Dungy and Mark Dominic at the time, but it didn't work out, and that's where my first book was inspired by, based on my experience of trying out for the NFL.
Okay, so you were able to balance that between your, raising a family and trying out for the Bucks. That's pretty good.
Right. My son was just 3 years old at the time, and we were living in Naples, so it was just, again, part of trying to fulfill your dreams and trying to do the best thing and always take care of my family, always on a budget, obviously.
I think this is great. And I think you just hit it. It's like trying to fulfill your dreams, not giving up and going ahead and having the courage. And, courage is being afraid and doing it anyway,
Correct.
and you didn't know what the outcome was going to be, but you were going to try.
Right.
So it's, good on you for trying,
Thank you.
for
Yeah.
giving that. And that's a great lesson for boys, boys to men.
Correct.
What do you think, caller?
I think that is a great lesson. Sometimes when you try to do your dreams and things get in the way, it sort of puts you at a setback. But for the most part, people, do their best. But listening to John's story, it sounds like regardless of what got in his way, he always strived to try to achieve his dreams.
That's correct. A lot of it has to do with, I guess, your internal, what you were talking about earlier, your internal drive,
Yeah.
spiritually based or physically based, whatever that
Right.
might be.
Well, thank you so much for calling. I think we're just about out of time here today, too. So, John, please tell everybody how they can contact you if they want to talk to you personally.
Oh, definitely.
Do you have an email address you want to share or a website?
Sure. It's jnodar68@gmail.com. And I definitely appreciate the caller calling. If you did want to contact me, feel free to contact me. And if you want to share, that's one of the opportunities that we can always learn from each other and be able to communicate what we've learned or experienced. As far as my email address, which is jnodar68@gmail.com, and both books are available at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com as an ebook.
Okay. And you can always come back and look at the show and get John's information. I will work with John and try to post these books on my website in the online store, or at least a link from my online store to Barnes & Noble, so you can get the information or get the books, download them, and just be inspired by them and pass the word on to everybody, to all the dads. June blah 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 is Father's Day. This would be a great gift for fathers, for young teenage boys, and for everyone, right, John?
Sure, definitely for all women and children. Even I wrote that in the book, and what I labeled it as considered faith care, because that's pretty much what we're in this together, as far as what we can do, learn from each other. And the whole idea of the book is to inspire and to motivate people, and especially my boys, because that's the first. That's
Absolutely.
my world.
Well, thank you, John, so much, or JJ, as his pen name is, for being on our show today, Spiritually Speaking. Want to remind you guys about the workshops. Again, they're every Friday in March from noon to 1:30. Go to workshopsforabundance.com. Yeah, I got it. Workshopsforabundance.com, and you can get the information there. And they're $15, so anybody can afford $15. If you can't afford $15, talk to us, and we'll work with you if you're very interested in the workshops. Okay. This week we're going to be talking about gratitude. Thank you so much, guys. We're out of time, and have a blessed week. We'll see you next week. Want a joyous, fulfilling life? Do what the fulfilled do. Be grateful for the things you have. Give freely from your heart. Be of service to others. Leave ego behind and let Spirit fearlessly guide you to your highest and best self. And most of all, choose it for yourself and believe that you already have it. Thank you for tuning in to Spiritually Speaking. We'll see you next week. Namaste. To learn more about Dee Dee Lovejoy, tune into www.oilsandstones.com.
The West Central coast of Florida has an amazing music scene. Festivals, clubs, special performances, and there's always a lot of live music. The problem has always been getting the word out about events. Then GoTonight.com emerged on the scene. The brainstorm creation of founder Don McKeon, a Sarasota entrepreneur. We caught up with Don and his inspirational friend, Frank Papa, at the Flying Dog Cafe.
This is Frank. I'm Don. Frank is the reason that there is a GoTonight.com. He would call me repeatedly. Where are we going? Where do you want to go? Where will we go tonight?
The website has been a boon to many small clubs. So next time you find yourself asking, where will we go tonight? You've got the answer.
Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com.